Welcome to Impact 100 of Northwest Florida, training on how to submit a grant application. The first step in the grant application process is to submit a letter of intent. After you've submitted that letter of intent and you've successfully met all the requirements, the grant committee will email your primary contact an invitation to apply for a grant. Within that email will be embedded a link to complete that grant application online, and it'll look like this one on the screen. When you click the link, you'll be filling out the grant application form online. If this is the first time submission, you click the button on the left-hand side to enter a new submission. Once the grant application form opens, it will pre-populate with the grant applicant's first and last name for the primary contact, and it will pre-populate the email. Please make sure these are correct. You'll see below here the return and re-edit access code. If you save the application and haven't completed it for submission, it will allow you to come back and re-edit it. It will ask you for this access code, so please make a note of it. You will see on the website the key reminders page. Please take an opportunity to go through this because these are the important points of a grant application. Specifically this year, everything is electronic. If you've been a grant applicant of ours in the past, thank you very much. You will notice some changes this year. Please refer to the grant proposal guidelines for assistance if you have any questions throughout this. First of all, it's going to be an electronic submission. You're going to use the online form in the links that are provided to you. It must be submitted electronically by June 15th at midnight. Please also note that all of the financial documents and the attachments will be uploaded as a PDF, except those items that are embedded in the table format of the form. Those are in an Excel format. Please make sure that you name your files with the organization name and the file description so we can keep them better organized. Nonprofits are required to submit electronic copies of the financial data, and those need to be in a PDF file format. Please do not send us Word documents. Please look at Section 5, Required Financial and Supporting Documents folder, to see exactly what information needs to be supported. Also within the application, you will note that there are some open text fields. This narrative is limited to 100 words. One technique is to copy or to type your information in a Word document, which will keep track of the word limits, and then cut and paste it into the application. Alternatively, if you type it interactively with the form, it will tell you the interactive word count as you're going. If you have any questions, please email grants@impactnorthwestflorida.org. The grants, again, are awarded in amounts of at least $100,000. The exact amount is announced in early June following the end of our membership drive, and you will need to modify your grant to utilize the entire grant amount. By submission of the grant application, the applicant also agrees to allow Impact 100 to publish the names and images of the and photos of the organization in our marketing materials and in our site visits. The grant committee is looking forward to the upcoming year and the exciting new projects that will be proposed. Thank you for the continued work you do on behalf of the residents of Okaloosa and Walton counties. This is what the grant application will look like. Again, your nonprofit name will be up at the top. Include your mailing address, a local address if different, if the physical address is different. If you have a website, please include the URL here. Include the board chair, their name and their direct phone number, and also the executive director name and phone number. Please include also your tax ID. And identify which counties the nonprofit serves, whether it's Okaloosa or Walton County, or both. The next section is a certification that both your board of directors, CEO, and the chair authorize the submission of this. We're using an electronic signature here. No need to physically sign it and scan it. The first section of the application is your nonprofit organization information. We're asking here for a brief description of the organization's history, mission statement, years founded, the number of board members you have, which ones or how many contributed financially over the last 12 months, how many full-time and part-time employees you have, and how many volunteers. We're asking for general liability insurance information and the coverage limits. If you don't have coverage, please explain to us why. And then the next section is on litigation and liability as to whether or not there is any pending information regarding litigation or liability. If it's a collaborative grant, collaboration exists when two or more nonprofit organizations unite in order to achieve a common goal, manage and contribute to the proposed project in a significant manner, and benefit financially from the grant. Each organization must meet the Impact 100 guidelines for eligibility and attach a copy of the 501c3 under the IRS guidelines. And each collaborating nonprofit organization must submit a separate letter of intent with those forms attached. Please list their names if you have any other collaborative organizations that are working with you. The second section of the grant application is the project summary information itself. We have 5 focus areas which are described at the top of this. The first part of the grant project is to identify your title and self-identify which of these 5 areas your project is most appropriate to be considered under. We are asking you to choose up to 2. Again, those areas are arts and culture, education, environment, recreation, and preservation, family, or health and wellness. We also here need the primary contact for this project, and this person must be available during business hours from 9 to 5 on business days. We need their phone number and email. We need your finance contact, and we need their phone, fax if it's available, and email. For the site visit, each applicant receives a site visit by a team of Impact 100 Grant Review volunteers. We need to know what the best time of day is for a site team to observe the process and visit with the members of the organization. The third section are the grant project details. Here we're identifying why the project is transformational, what is the problem that is being solved or the strategic issue that's being addressed. Describe the target population, including demographics and geographic area served. Describe the specific activities and services that will be provided. State the project's specific goals and objectives, and describe the specific measures the organization will use to evaluate the success of the project. And please provide data. In this section, we ask you to describe the specific plans for the sustainability of this project, including personnel, funding, maintenance, and any other applicable resources. Explain how this project fits into your organization's mission and vision. In the next section, describe how this project will be high impact, meaning it will significantly influence the community. Section A, does this project enable the organization to? We select the drop-down menu. Please select either it will affect a large group of people or it'll affect a small group of people yet have wider implications for the community. In the next line, we ask you to explain the demographic or population to be served and the number of people. The third section is project management timeline, planning, and implementation. What is the project start date and the end date? List the significant dates and or milestones to show how the grant funds will be expended within the first 2 project years. And then describe how you will manage the funds to implement the project. Identify any key staff positions for this project and their responsibilities. If there's construction for your project, reconstruction or renovations, this next section is for you. If you don't have that, you can jump ahead. So specifically, if there's construction involved, will a zoning variance be required? If so, please identify the plans and the progress in obtaining the variance. We require 2 bids. A minimum of 1 is required, but 2 bids are recommended. We need to know if all providers are licensed, and does the budget include all of the permit work, the title, the contracts, the drawings, leases, site plans, professional fees, to make sure that these are all included in your budget. And then, will anyone other than the grant recipient hold title to any property purchased with grant funds or any property upon which improvements are made with grant funds? So if work is being done on a site that's not owned by the organization, please provide evidence of a lease for at least 5-year duration. Section 4 is the project budget itself. We require a detailed budget of income and expenses for each application. This is the link to an Excel spreadsheet. If you click the hyperlink project budget template here, the template may be saved as an Excel worksheet on the computer and appropriate fields edited as needed. Some of the fields have been pre-filled in as an example of the data requested. Please overwrite these with your actual data. This has only been added in there as an assist for your explanation. When it's complete, please upload the completed budget using the following link. Click the Browse button, find the Excel spreadsheet on your computer, and click Enter. It will upload it automatically with your application. So this is what the proposed budget spreadsheet looks like. The first section is project revenues, and this will include, the first line should be the total of the grant, remembering that it'll be something different than, something more than the original $100,000, which you will be informed about after the membership drive has completed. We know how much money has been raised for the grants. Include in here any source of additional revenue, whether they're government grants, whether you've got individual contributions, whether you've got certain fundraising events, endowment earnings, any other sort of project revenue, and it should total to the bottom. Please don't forget to overwrite the examples that we've put in here for you. The second part of the spreadsheet are the total project expenses. This includes any of the payroll costs, whether they're consultant and professional fees or employees, if there's any specific land or property acquisitions, consultant fees, construction fees. We've put examples in here for descriptions. For instance, if you have land or property acquisition, not only do we want the amount, but we want a description of the specific land or property acquisition. Same thing with permits. We need to know how much the permits are and how much and what the purpose for the permits are. Again, the project expenses need to agree and equal or exceed the amount of the Impact 100 grant. At the bottom, it will automatically calculate whether or not you've met the objective, specifically the project total revenues equal the project total expenses. The final page is the expenses that are specifically covered by the Impact 100 grant. Of course, the Impact 100 expenses must be equal or less than the line item you put in the previous spreadsheet for the total expenses. This is to be used if you have other sources covering the expenses. For instance, you've got in-kind expenses. Somebody's donating their time or their labor to take care of something, or you've already got certain equipment from a previous either donation or fundraising event, so that those expenses have already been covered. Again, the total has to equal the total amount of the grant. Again, when these spreadsheets are completed, simply go to the previous line in the application and use the upload button to attach them to your application. Section 5 is the required financial and supporting documents. Please remember all hard copy documents must be supplied as PDF files. We can't accept any other format. Make sure that the supporting documents include the list of the board members, including their name, position, any professional affiliations, the city of residence, and the year served. Please include cost estimates and any other supporting documents to explain any line item amounts of over $5,000 in the project budget information. And program staff job descriptions for existing and proposed roles that support this grant project. The specific grant application attachments that are required are only for projects with construction, new positions, reconstruction, collaborators, or benefiting organizations. If you're unable to provide any of the following documents prior to the June 15 deadline, please contact grants@impactnwf.org and discuss it with us. The documents that are needed will be newly created program staff job descriptions, architectural drawings. Again, we need these by a licensed provider, not just a sketched. We need itemized cost estimates, again by a licensed provider. Permits, zoning variances, leases, titles, real estate contracts if you're doing the construction. Letters from collaborating partners, if you have any. These need to be signed by the executive director and the board chair of each collaborating organization. We need letters of understanding from any other benefiting organization regarding the services that they agree to receive from the project. Please include only the information requested. Please do not include newsletters, emails, letters of recommendation, publicity materials, etc. Any extraneous materials will be removed and discarded prior to review. Regarding the required financial documents, these again must be sent electronically in PDF files only. Please remember to name them with your organization's name and the title of the document. If you can provide audited financial statements, then you only need the following 5 items. The year-to-date P&L and balance sheet from your financial statements, the current year board-approved operating budget, the auditor's report for the prior 2 fiscal years, Form 990 for the previous 2 years, 990 EZ is acceptable, and the Form 10100 filing with the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services in compliance with the Solicitation of Contributions Act. If you cannot provide audited financial statements, we need the additional following 9 items. Current year-to-date interim financials, current bank statements and bank reconciliations, current year board-approved operating budget, financial statements for the prior 2 fiscal years, Form 990 or 990 EZ for the prior 2 years, Form 10100 filing, a copy of the organization's bylaws, and then a brief narrative which includes the board of directors governance, meaning how frequently do they meet, if they maintain minutes, etc. A description of the financial practices, who prepares the accounting records and financial statements, who reviews the information, how are disbursements made and who approves them, and where are your records kept. Answer the following question. Is the organization aware of any contingent liabilities? If so, how would the organization meet those obligations? Following that are the links for providing the supporting documentation. Again, the first one is again, they need to be in PDF file format. So click the Browse button, find the appropriate file on your computer, and click OK to attach it. The second one is specific grant application attachments and the required financial documents. When all fields have been completed, click Submit Form to send the application to Impact 100. If any required fields have not been completed, An errors box will be displayed. Simply use your browser back button to go edit those fields. If you're not ready to submit the form, you can save it and come back to it later by clicking Save Responses without submitting. If you save instead of submit, the following information will be emailed to you. Please make note of the access code, which will allow you to access your unique form. A confirmation email will be sent to your primary contact once the application has been submitted. The Grants Committee will then review the application and contact your primary contact to follow up. We wish you the best of luck.